It is about the secret of Moro. Now we only have about 20 minutes left. This is a scene that comes out about an hour past in the movie. Wounded Ashitaka wakes up in Moro's roost and goes outside. Then Moro, who was sitting on top of the roost, speaks to him. In this scene, you can see where Moro lives, but it's a bit special for somewhere a mere wolf lives. This is a scene where Ashitaka gets up and stands inside Moro's roost. Moro's roost is all made of rocks. Not just that, the floor, the ceiling, and the walls are made of huge monoliths. Looking at from the outside, you can see how Moro is on top of the ceiling. And you see how the floor and the ceiling are horizontal. Moreover, the side walls lean in the same angle. And they're like from both sides. And they're both shaped in this angle, leaning inwards. And now look here. This is the scene where Ashitaka leaves the next morning. Here, you can see the entire roost made of these mysterious rocks. As you can see, perfect horizontal monolith is on the top. The rocks on the both sides support it, and the floor part sticks out. And if you see the last panel I showed you, this is a view from the side. It's sticking out to form a terrace. I think I saw one with the exact same shape as this somewhere. The answer is in Osaka. It's in Katano City in Osaka, inside a shrine called Iwafune Shrine, and it's called Amano Iwato. And it pretty much has the same structure. I don't mean to say San and others lived in Osaka. What I mean is that this is the ruin of a megalithic civilization. As I mentioned last week, the village Ashitaka lived in originally also had giant rock worship. It's a type of religion which even Aomori has only a few remaining ruins of. That's where Ashitaka departed from. In considering that Jomon people enshrined such a huge rock as a sacred body, there's a connection. In other words, Ashitaka's village is the descendant of such megalithic civilization. In comparison, there's no explanation about Moro's roost in the movie. But you know for sure that it is not created by nature if you look at a cave with such horizontal floor and ceiling, or the rocks of the same exact size supporting both sides of a horizontal roof on the top. If you think normally, this must be a temple of a megalithic civilization or an Iwakura, a seat of God. This is an Amano Iwato in Iwafune Shrine in Katano City, Osaka. The structure of Stonehenge in the UK is pretty much the same as this. The builders tried to create a seat of gods by placing rocks horizontally or other rocks that stood vertically at the same angle. This is a feature of megalithic civilization. In other words, Moro's roost is actually an ancient temple. And, well, what should I say? During the age of ancient megalithic civilization, true gods lived in Japan. A family of Moro and other beings were revered by ancient people because they were huge beasts and were able to speak the human language. Therefore, they were true gods. That's why people made a temple and enshrined them there. However, to Moro's temple, to his temple, now no one visits and worships. This is what the forest is dying truly means. So, nevertheless, Moro still lives here. The reason is because Moro is the god of dogs. Dogs are the oldest and most faithful friends of mankind. And because he's the god of dogs, he stays in a temple where no one ever visits anymore, still waiting for someone to come back. When I found this out, I was like, oh my god! And seriously, I almost bursted in tears while watching the Friday Roadshow. There's no way Moro hates people because he continues to live in a temple that people have forgotten about. That's why she raises baby son. She raises an abandoned human baby as her daughter, so she rather likes humans. She just hates human acts. She just can't forgive Eboshi for abandoning San. So it's not like Moro hates humans. However, ordinary commentary books or even Ghibli's official books say Moro hates humans. So please don't trust the lines in Princess Mononoke. You should just trust the images. It's easier to understand if you trust the images rather than the lines. The reason why the forest dies is because no one comes to the place which is once called a shrine in praise there. Because no one believes in gods of forest anymore, and now they see forest as mere natural resource. Those gods of forest gradually become smaller. Moro is 300 years old and Okoto is 500 years old. So the times when they were born are the times when rice farming and iron were introduced to Japan from China, and people stopped believing in such stories that there are gods in the forest. So perhaps neither Okoto nor Moro know accurately about the times when people were worshipping them as gods. I guess they have been told from their families what it was like in the past. So the wild boar gods, including Okoto, can no longer trust humans and decide to make it to Aomori, where the megalithic civilization that still worships the forest gods barely remain. On the other hand, Moro says on the surface, humans will never worship us again, and 50% of him actually believes in his own words, but he still lives in the megalithic shrine that human once made for him. To me, this is such a touchy story. Now, the megalithic civilization that believes in the gods of the forest only remains at the very end of Aomori. That's why Okoto and other wild boars have moved from Kyushu region, which is called Chinza in the movie. By the way, Okayama Prefecture is said to be the stage for Princess Mononoke. Miyazaki went to sketch Okayama and said, "Let's make this place the stage of the movie." This backs up the theory that the movie was staged in Okayama. I support this theory too. It's because if the story was based in somewhere east of Kyoto, it'll mean that the horde of wild boars would have cut through Kyoto, but that would be impossible. The mission that Jigo receives from the emperor is, of course, to bring back the head of the forest spirit, which is believed to hold the power of immortality. But more than that, there could be an order to stop the hordes of wild boar gods in Okayama, where the front line is, before they rush into Kyoto. When I think like that way, everything makes sense. Because if a crowd of huge wild boars has crossed Kyoto, the imperial family would have been completely crushed, since their authority has fallen entirely during the Muromachi period, as Miyazaki explained, during the time they made living by selling their own autographs. Well, so I think this is the large flow of the plot in Princess Mononoke. Rather than paying attention to Moro's line that says, I can't forgive human beings, we should look at the part that Moro saves a human baby, who she has no connection to, or can just bite her to death and raises her with care. Or on top of that, she wants to return her beloved son to the human world one day, and has a high hope that Ashitaka can be a help for that purpose. When Ashitaka is sleeping in the roost, suffering from the wounds, Moro is on top of the roof the whole time. When Ashitaka wakes up, Moro says to him, "I was hoping you'd cry out in your sleep. Then I would have bitten your head off to silence you." What this means is that Ashitaka's right arm is cursed, but Moro is also dying from the iron bullet shot by Eboshi. Both are in the exact same situation. It's even more painful because they are both holding themselves back from turning into Tatari gods. If they turn their pain into grudges against each other, they could become Tatari god easily, which would ease them. However, although he's in so much pain, Ashitaka endures it desperately without turning it into a grudge. When Moro sees such a man like Ashitaka, she thinks, well, I might as well die here alone. instead of turning this pain into totally gun, well, she also thinks only after I crush Eboshi's head into pieces. So Moro must see Ashitaka conquer negative emotions and decide that he is a man who she can leave her precious daughter to. However, Miyazaki describes none of that in the movie. Instead, he makes Moro say all the scary lines so she looks like a very scary old woman. However, the real role of Moro in the movie is so important as she observes various people objectively. That's why Akihiro Miwa was so happy hearing all the stories about Moro and said, "Wow, that's Moro?" And he was so happy, but he said, but you didn't write that in the script. And Miyazaki was like, "No, I didn't." And he sounded so happy. You can see all that in the document.